Hey, good morning, everybody, or I should say good afternoon where I am. It is 12 noon. Hope you are having a great Sunday wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. I'm Anjanette Levy, trying out a Sunday stream. Actually, it's 12:30. What am I thinking? It's 12:30 where I am. So I'm losing track of time here. Happy Sunday, though. Trying out a Sunday afternoon stream. We did one a couple of weeks back, 2 weeks ago. Thought I'd give it another go around, see how it would work. Maybe we'll try it a little later another time, just to see how it goes. There's some stuff that's happened in the last couple of days, so I thought, hey, let's talk about it. I thought about doing it outside, but it's just a little bit too hot. I know a lot of people really like the outside look when I was on vacation, so maybe I'll try that another day when it's not quite so hot, because that was actually pretty fun to be outside. So if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for coming in. If you're a regular, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Remember, when you come in, to like and subscribe, hit that thumbs up. It really helps the video in the algorithm. And also, we have memberships now, so you can subscribe. And thank you to our moderators who are here with me today. The docket is here. Mel Mac is here. I couldn't do this without them, and I couldn't do it without you. Also trying to hit a new goal we've got going on today, 11,000 subscribers. We'd love to be able to hit 11,000 subscribers at some point. So that would be great. So going to talk about a few cases. We'll just do a little bit of a round robin today and see where it goes. Kouri Richins, she's the Utah mom accused of killing her husband, Eric Richins, by poisoning him. Really horrible case. Her case is a hot mess. She's accused of murdering Eric. She had some real estate scheme going on. Well, now she's facing a slew of new charges, a bunch of new charges. So I'm going to pull those up on the screen for you. So Kouri, of course, is charged with murder, and her trial was expected to begin in the spring. Well, it didn't. She appealed the whole change of venue issue, went up to the Supreme Court. So, and there was some weirdness that went on with that. I was following the case pretty closely, and then I kind of got into Karen Reed, started following that more closely, got into some other things that were kind of consuming my attention, like the Kohberger case, which we'll get to in a minute. There's some stuff that's going to be happening with that this week as well. So my attention kind of drifted away from Kouri Richins, and the judge doesn't really allow live streaming. We always get those hearings after the fact. So the judge had said some stuff about how the media was misreporting things and this, that, and the other. I don't know. I'm still kind of confused about it. But Kouri is accused of murdering Eric Richins. Then she went and wrote like a children's book, a book about grief for her children, and talking about how she was, wrote this book to help her children grieve, etc. And then she was charged with, murdering him, poisoning him, and trying to poison him weeks before she's accused of finally murdering him by spiking his Moscow Mule with fentanyl or drugs or something like that. So hot mess of a case. I've interviewed the attorney for Eric Richins' family many times. Greg Skordas, really interesting guy. He ran for attorney general out there in Utah at one point in time, but he represents the Richins family. So I've interviewed him many, many times. So Johnny Knoxville says, insane, nobody touches my Tom Collins. That's pretty funny. So it's a crazy case. Stacey Ann says, thank you for doing a live today. Well, a lot of what, you're welcome, Stacey Ann. So a lot of what Kouri is accused of doing now, these new charges, have to do with financial crimes. If you read a lot of the court documents related to Kouri Richins' case, she is accused of doing a lot of really bad financial stuff, like taking out a home equity line of credit in her husband's name for her business and not telling her husband about it. And that's not great. That's really bad. She had this real estate business, and she wanted to basically be like, I don't know, it almost sounds like she wanted to be kind of like a house flipping queen or something like that, like building houses and then selling them, or, and it wasn't going well for her, according to what the prosecution has written in their documents. So Kouri's business was upside down. She was in major debt. So now she's accused of a bunch of like what I would call, I guess, white collar crimes or, nonviolent crimes related to the murder of Eric Richins, mortgage fraud. June 29th, 2021, the prosecutors are alleging that she had the intent to defraud, knowingly making a material misstatement, misrepresentation, or omission during the mortgage lending process, intending that it be relied upon by a mortgage lender, borrower, or any other party to the mortgage lending process. And the value of the property, money, or thing obtained or sought to be obtained is in excess of $5,000. So there are several counts of mortgage fraud here. She's also charged with forgery. This also in June of 2021. Then there are counts in August of 2021 and in October and November of 2021. Then she's accused of issuing a bad check. Very interesting, third-degree felony, issuing a bad check. I mean, it's like they're just laying all these charges on top of the murder charge. She, of course, has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. I don't know if her defense is going to try to say that Eric Richins was using illicit drugs and that is why he died. Maybe that's where they're going with this, that he was secretly using fentanyl. But Kouri, according to the prosecution, was asking somebody to get her, the Michael Jackson stuff, which is actually propofol is what killed Michael Jackson. He was being given that by a doctor to help him sleep. That's a drug that puts you under for surgery. But fentanyl is much different. That's a painkiller, narcotic. And she was allegedly asking for fentanyl. So to me, it's a bit of a hot mess. So issuing a bad check, these are all kind of like paper crimes. Money laundering, now she's accused of money laundering. Also now she has a public defender. So her public defenders seem like they are doing a fine job and they seem like decent attorneys, but she had other attorneys and now she can't pay them anymore. They said they had a conflict with some of the other cases, but now I was hearing through the grapevine, it was really more about money that she couldn't pay them anymore. Communications fraud. And she's also accused of engaging in a pattern of unlawful activity. So there's some background here. Let's get into the juice. Here's the juice. The defendant met Eric Richins in 2009 while she was working as a cashier at Home Depot. They had a child in 2012 and they married in 2013. At the time of the marriage, Eric Richins and his business partner owned a successful stonemasonry business called C&D Stonemasonry. In early 2019, this is where the defrauding type thing comes in, or at least begins. The defendant used a power of attorney to obtain a $250,000 home equity line of credit on Eric Richins' premarital home without his knowledge. Can you imagine taking out a $250,000 loan without your husband knowing? Oh my God. I mean, 250 grand, that's $250,000. That is no small amount of money. That is not like running up like a couple $100 your husband doesn't know about on the credit card. This is major, major money. So Eric Richins, the defendant was the sole member of the company. The defendant used the proceeds from the HELOC to initially fund Kouri Richins Realty and hard money loans to finance its ongoing operations. He learned of the loan in October 2020, and the secret origination and continued existence of the HELOC was a source of tension between the defendant and Eric Richins. The defendant informed Eric Richins that she would repay the loan and led Eric Richins to believe she had repaid it. So he thought it was paid off, according to what the prosecution's alleging. The HELOC was not paid off on the day of Eric Richins' death. Interesting stuff. Also, the prosecution has alleged that she had a boyfriend or was having an affair with some guy during all of this as well. So, yikes. And she liked to watch like murder documentaries and stuff. There were some weird quotes in some of the paperwork. So here we go. In the 5 months prior to Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins Realty realized $170,000 in revenue, while its monthly debt service exceeded $250,000. So she's totally underwater. It borrowed from over 25 lenders to support itself and service its debt obligations. Despite Kouri Richins Realty's existing debt and insufficient revenue, the defendant continued to use hard money loans to purchase 3 additional properties in November 2021. When the defendant closed on the 3 properties on November 30th, 2021, she added $1.1 million, $1.1 million in high interest debt to her already staggering and unserviceable debt load. She couldn't pay this. It was an insane amount of money. This is all according to the prosecution. This is all just what's written on paper. She continued efforts to borrow from new high-interest lenders to meet her existing obligations. By the end of 2021, the defendant stood on the precipice of total financial collapse. So they're saying this was all about money. This whole thing, the whole motive about murdering Eric was money. On December 23rd, 2021, the defendant contracted to purchase an unfinished mansion. This is that big monstrosity that you've seen the pictures of in Midway, Utah, using $2.9 million in high interest debt due in 6 months, even though she lacked the financial ability to service the additional debt, refinance the debt, rehabilitate the property, or otherwise dispose of the property. The defendant was scheduled to close on the property on March 4th, 2022, the day of Eric Richins' death. She ultimately closed on it the next day. On the day of Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins Realty owed hard money lenders at least $1.8 million. And the day after Eric Richins' death, it owed them nearly $5 million. She was in the hole. $5 million. I want to know, she hasn't paid that money off, right? Has she paid that money off? Or how much does she owe today? That's what I want to know. At the time of Eric Richins' death, at least 3 insurance policies on Eric Richins' life existed, with aggregate death benefits of $1.35 million, and the defendant, as the beneficiary, a 4th policy existed with a death benefit of $500,000. The defendant mistakenly believed that she was the beneficiary of the policy as well. Does this feel like Lori Vallow all over again? Does this feel a little Lori Vallow-ish? A 5th policy existed that paid approximately $168,000 toward the balance of Eric Richins' mortgage at the time of his death. Eric Richins' estate was worth approximately $5 million. So there's a lot here. I feel like we should almost do a separate standalone thing on this, or a separate live on this. But Kouri Richins, more charges she's facing now on top of the murder charges. I don't think that there's any way, this information will come into the murder trial, but they're not going to have a trial. I would be shocked if these charges are combined with the murder trial, but it could happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I would be surprised if it did. So what do you guys think about that? I'm going to look at your comments here and see what everybody has to say about it. Messica says, the financial fraud charges alone seem serious even without murder. I would agree with you 100%. They seem very, very serious. And they've kind of alluded to all of this stuff. They've alluded to all of this stuff along the way in the murder case. So Kouri Richins facing new charges. I wanted to move on now and talk a little bit about what's going to happen with the Bryan Kohberger case this week. As you know, we talked about it last week. The judge has denied his request for a continuance. Jury selection will begin. Well, the voir dire, the questioning of the witnesses, that portion will begin on August 4th. And it's been extended to 2 weeks now. They were just getting a week for it originally, but the judge said, okay, there's going to be all this pretrial publicity, so we may need more time to question jurors, to get a jury, a death qualified jury. They're going to do all these juror questionnaires. Those questionnaires are under seal. That's, I believe, going to be happening the week before August 4th. So they'll be doing all of that with the jurors, the questionnaires. That way they'll be able to like weed out everybody immediately who they're like, there is just no way. There is no way these people can sit on this jury. So they'll just automatically get rid of those people. And then that way on August 4th, they can start questioning all of them. Then they push the opening statements back to August 18th. So opening statements are starting a week later than expected, but the trial is moving forward. Well, tomorrow in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, a number of witnesses who've been subpoenaed in Pennsylvania have to show up at court and basically tell a court there, I'm contesting this subpoena. I don't want to travel to Idaho to testify, and this is why. And so a judge will hear those issues tomorrow. One of those cases has been rescheduled to July. One of them actually, Ann Parham, I think a former teacher, grade school teacher or something like that, of Bryan Kohberger, her attorney said last week she's no longer contesting the subpoena. So sounds like she's saying, okay, I'll travel to Idaho. No big deal. I'll do it. So that's not, she's not contesting it anymore. So that's what's going to happen there. We're also keeping an eye out on any other developments that might be coming. We do know, and I'm going to keep an eye on what comes out of these hearings. If we learn more about those people that have been subpoenaed either by the defense, we know a handful of them have been subpoenaed by the defense for Kohberger. But we don't know if two of them, I think two of them have been subpoenaed by the state because it didn't say anything about the defense subpoenaing them before. So I think one of them is a jail guard who works at the Monroe County Jail, William Searfoss. Another one, Anthony Soma, appears to have gone to a technical college where Bryan Kohberger attended school for a little bit, and he looks to be the same age. So those appear to be possibly state's witnesses. We're going to keep an eye on what comes out of that hearing because they'll have to argue why these people are material and have to come to Idaho to testify or be compelled or forced to travel to Idaho. Unless their attorneys show up with them or they show up and say, hey, yeah, I'm here and that's fine. I'll go to Idaho. But I'm sure a lot of people probably are like, I don't really want to testify. Like, who wants to testify? I don't know if anybody really ever wants to testify. We're going to keep an eye out too on any documents that might come out. Obviously, everybody's eager to learn whether or not anything's coming of this leak investigation. The Judge Hippler basically confirmed that a special prosecutor and some documents has been appointed. So if you're just joining, we're up to 98 viewers now. If you're just joining, thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Remember to hit the thumbs up button, hit the bell, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We have the memberships now. I'm going to be working on adding some new emojis, the custom emojis. So I'll try to work on that later today. I wanted to let you guys know too, the other night, so sorry, we had a lot of issues with this bot thing that I added. I didn't set it up properly and people were getting put in timeout. A lot of things were going on. This bot was yelling at people. My bad. I've never used this bot thing before, but we fixed it yesterday. So the docket helped me fix it. I am not Miss Technology. So anybody that got put in timeout the other day or whatever, I am so sorry. That was crazy. Everybody's welcome here. So that was something else. Oh, hey, Mo, thanks for jumping in. Mo, thanks so much for coming in. So Mo's here for a moment too. Like Mo says she has family in, yeah, Dandelion says Naughty Bot. Naughty Bot is right. So let's move on now. We'll be keeping an eye on both Kouri Richins and Bryan Kohberger this week to see what is going on with those two. Also this week, it's a short week. It's a holiday week. It's a holiday week, right? But I am expecting I think there's going to be a verdict, obviously, in the Diddy Combs trial. I've been doing like a little bit of pre-verdict coverage, live coverage on Law and Crime for that. And We're going to be doing that all week on Law and Crime. And so we'll be on verdict watch for that. Crazy stuff happened in the opening state or the closing arguments. Sean Combs, of course, is charged with racketeering conspiracy. He is charged with sex trafficking. He's accused of trafficking both Cassie Ventura and Jane, a woman he was seeing. Their relationship was not public, but he was seeing her for a number of years, 2021, I think, up until his arrest in 2024, last year. And he's also charged with transportation to engage in prostitution. Well, guess what? They've got him. As far as I'm concerned, they've got him on the transportation to engage in prostitution, but that's not why the feds charged him. They did not go through all of this and raid his house, go in there with tanks, with Homeland Security agents to get him on a transportation to engage in prostitution charge. Guys, I got to take a sip of water. Sorry about that. That's not why they did this. They did this to get him on racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking. So I think they've got him dead to rights on that prostitution charge. He obviously transported people, paid for their transportation to engage in prostitution. But there's been a lot of debate about the racketeering conspiracy charge. That's RICO. That they designed the RICO stuff for the mob, to go after the mob. You know, it's like Al Capone. They could never get Al Capone on murdering people. So that's why they came up with this racketeering statute. It's so you could take all of these other things. You know, they finally got Al Capone on tax evasion. That's how they got Al Capone. It reminds me of The Firm. Remember the movie The Firm? At the end, they get the firm people on mail fraud. I love that movie. They get him on mail fraud. That's why they came up with racketeering, to go out after the mob. Well, they're basically saying, you know, the government's basically saying Diddy, I hate calling him Diddy. Everybody calls him Puffy. But they're basically saying he's a mobster. Like he's the Puffy. He's the head of his own little Puffy mob. But he's just a business guy, right? So in order to prove racketeering conspiracy, they just have to show that he and one other person had an agreement, or they committed 2 other crimes. It could be the sex trafficking. It could be the arson with Kid Cudi's car. It could be the kidnapping of Capricorn Clark. They have to show that they committed 2 other crimes. And that can be racketeering conspiracy. And I've gone back and forth on this. Like, it's like I see the RICO and I don't. But that's all they have to do. They're called predicate acts. So they just have to prove, and they don't even have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They just have to show, basically that there were 2 other crimes that happened, and that Sean Combs and another person had, committed this crime or had an agreement to do this. And so they're basically saying that could be arson, the Kid Cudi car incident. It could be sex trafficking, forced labor. That was like with the personal assistants. The freak offs could be forced labor. The kidnapping of Capricorn Clark, where he went to her house and put her in the Cadillac Escalade with the guys with the guns. All of this stuff. His attorneys are like, this is not RICO. And they went after a successful Black man. Basically, they're basically saying they want to seize his assets. He's a, billionaire. They can just take everything he's got if they get him on the RICO and the sex trafficking. It's called asset forfeiture. There were some interesting things because I think that the defense did a really good job on a lot of their closing, or on a lot of their cross examinations and stuff like that. I think they did a really good job. And I was hearing that they had 5 or 6 jurors kind of on their side, or at least during some of the testimony, kind of with them, or giving facial expressions that made it seem like they were with them and things of that nature. Oh, I want to give a shout out to a new member. We have a new member all of a sudden. Nicola Musilova. I really hope I pronounced that properly. Nicola Musilova. Welcome. Thank you for joining. We have a new member. I love that. Welcome to Nicola. Thank you for joining. Flash your emojis. I'm going to be adding more lately. Or later, pardon me. Charlie Barrow asks, have they proven that he burned the car? Just because it was claimed doesn't make it true. Well, that's the thing. And that's why a lot of defense attorneys hate RICO. They don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did the car thing. That's the thing. They don't have to. It's not like oh, we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he burned the car or that he ordered people to burn the car. That there's no reasonable doubt standard there. Oh, there was another predicate act I forgot. There could also be the bribery. They're alleging bribery with the purchasing of the Intercontinental Hotel. The Intercontinental Hotel beating video of Cassie. He paid for that video, like $100,000. So they're alleging bribery with that. So back to the sex trafficking and stuff and the closing arguments. They only have to prove everybody, because the defense has said this was all consensual. Look at all these text messages. This was all consensual. And they say, I like the freak offs. I love the freak offs. The girl, like, I want to do the freak offs. Messica says the bribery was definitely proven. Lots of receipts. Yeah, I think the bribery, if you consider it bribery, because they're saying they paid him off to keep it from law enforcement. He would probably argue like they paid for this to keep it out of the press. But if law enforcement saw it, they would definitely charge him if it was in the press. But back to the sex trafficking. I hit something on my laptop and exited myself out of here. Sorry about that, guy. Oh, Nicola, I'm really glad that I pronounced your name properly. Back to the sex trafficking. I'll try not to touch my laptop anymore. I hit the mouse pad and exited myself out of here by accident. Back to the sex trafficking. The defense has presented all of these different text messages showing that the women consented, that they wanted to do it, that type of thing. And what happened was they only have to, the prosecution, the government only has to prove, and they said this in their opening state or closing argument, they only have to prove one instance of sex trafficking. They only have to prove it happened once. One instance of, I didn't want to do it. I was tricked into doing it. I was coerced into doing it. It's sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. They only have to show that happened one time. Out of all of these freak offs, hotel nights, king wild nights, whatever verbiage you want to use. But out of all of these different things, where they would these women would have sex with these male escorts, porn stars, what have you, the government says we only have to show trafficking happened one time by force, fraud, or coercion for you to find him guilty. They may be able to do that because I've been, in my coverage of this on Law and Crime, I've been listening to everybody talk about it, and we've been going back and forth. Is this sex trafficking going to be a tough sell when you have all of these text messages with some of the women saying, yeah, I like this, or I don't feel like doing it, I don't want to do this. But then other times they're like, I love it, let's do it. I love to freak off, blah, blah, blah. But they only have to find one instance. And then you're going to have to get 12 jurors to agree on that. So what do you guys think of it? I feel like I should put a poll up on the posts. So I want to show you a little bit of the closing arguments, because I was hearing that the defense, Mark Agnifilo, which I thought was kind of a weird choice for him to make the closing. He is the lead attorney, but I thought, Brian Steele, I was hearing that from people I know who are in the courtroom who have a bird's eye view of the jury from their seat, that they really like Bryan Steele. Like, they love Bryan Steele. Like, Bryan Steele gets up there and like a handful, 6 of the jurors or so, they sit up and they're like, all right, they want to hear from Bryan Steele. They love him. But they chose Mark Agnifilo to do it. And I'm going to show you. They were apparently laughing at his jokes. He apparently was making jokes up there. He's making jokes. He's doing this. He's doing that. And they were laughing at his jokes. This is a New York jury, right? New York jury, New York lawyer, making jokes up there doing this. Then apparently they all had a huddle. Sean Combs and his lawyers. And I was watching Tisa Tells, who I really enjoy watching. She's got great energy, great personality, and she's just a hoot. She popped in here one time for one of my lives and I loved it. But she's hilarious. And she does a great impersonation of Mark Agnifilo. I'm like, why am I not at this trial at least for one day? I just wanted to go for like one day, maybe like 2 days, just to observe and see it. And I just wanted to see it. And she says he gets up there and he's like, yeah, Anna. Like, you got to log on to her channel and see her do it. It's hysterical. I would love to have had her come on here just even for 10 minutes and talk to me about it, but she's super busy with her channel. And I was like, she's got a huge channel, like 600,000 subscribers. I'm like, I don't know if she would do it, but she's hysterical. I think you guys should check it out. But she said, after this huddle with Combs and the lawyers, he turned to this and it looked like they were laughing with him and stuff like that at his jokes. Then all of a sudden he turns to this, well, like, Cassie liked it. She liked it. She wanted it. And he was going through the video and showing that the Intercontinental Hotel video where she got beaten up, and that he was like, this was all about the phone. And so he was pausing it and playing the video, and it was about the phone, and she's saying this and she's saying that. I am sorry, but it doesn't matter if she took his phone. He literally threw her on the ground and beat the crap out of her. It was horrible. I don't care if she took his phone. And she had said something to him about bad drugs he had taken, because that's been their whole thing. This was not him forcing her to take part in a freak off. This was not what that was. It was over a phone, and he had taken some bad drugs, and he immediately regretted it. That's what this was. This was not him being some pimp guy, beating up his girlfriend. But she's saying it didn't work. And it was he turned to this Cassie's a hoe kind of defense closing argument, and it all went downhill from there. So I'm going to pull up the closing argument and show you what he said, because I was like, did he really say that? What is going on? Because I'm kind of he did what? Okay, great. So I had this all pulled up and ready to go for you guys, and now I'm like, where is my page? Am I not going to find it now? I should have just taken a screen grab of it, but I've got it elsewhere. I'll just read it to you. I had it all pulled up and ready to go for you. Best laid plans, right? So this is what he said about the freak offs. You guys are gonna like die. Okay, I'm just gonna read it off this other thing. I was gonna show it to you. And I want you to let me know what you think of this. I am saying the evidence, I think, is overwhelming that Cassie wanted to do this. But part of the reason she wants to do this, I suppose, and I think that's true for any intimate partner, is this is how they are close. This is how they're close. If you're close by drinking lemonade with, strawberries in it, lemonade with strawberries has great memories for me. I'm close with you because we go to the beach. I view the beach as differently. My wife's from Los Angeles. I hated Los Angeles. I love Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a great city. Sorry. That's how it happens. Like your likes and their likes become one. That's actually what love is. And that is what is going to with Cassie. Would this have been her choice? I don't know. Maybe it would have. I mean, she's obviously, if she could kind of like keep Kid Cudi on one side and Combs on the other, she's ready to go. I mean, she is, like I said, God bless her. She's a beautiful, sexy woman, and that's what she deserves to be if that's what she wants to be. And that's what she wants to be. I mean, when she wasn't with Sean Combs, she was with Michael B. Jordan, like the most handsome man in the world. No offense. I mean, she's not messing around. Do you remember when Capricorn, I think Capricorn testified to this, said, you should just break up with Sean. You know what she said? Jay-Z is taken. Capricorn did say that, by the way. She said, why don't you break up with him? Just go find somebody else. And she's like, who else would I date? Jay-Z is taken. So there's the implication there that she's only going to date somebody who's rich and powerful and who can help her career. Who am I going to date? Okay, she's at a high level. She has sexual confidence. Good for her. So I submit to you, she is not clutching her pearls. I don't think Cassie Ventura has a bunch of pearls in her hand clutching them. That's just not who she is. And so my first argument to you is that this was her lifestyle choice also. But a second argument, and it's not inconsistent with the first, is how I am intimate with the man I love. And you can want that. If you didn't innately want it in the beginning, you could come to want that. And the result is the same. You want it because you want to be close. Now, a couple of specific things. I think the government talked about, so it's hard to necessarily follow where they're coming from, but I'm going to try. I thought what they said yesterday, well, they clearly said we're not saying all the freak offs were non-consensual. No, they're not. We think that she wanted to do some of them. All right. Now, where are we? Which ones? Like, is it that she wanted to do 110 and she didn't want to do 3? Did she want to do 70 and not 50? Like, once you open that door, where do we go now? Okay, but the government focused on 3. 3. They said there's one at Cannes, I think was one that they mentioned, one in regard to Daniel Phillip, and we'll talk about that one, and then the Intercontinental, okay? So we'll talk about all 3. The Cannes one, I don't know that there's any evidence of that one way or the other. I mean, it's just one that they kind of threw into the mix, but think about it for a second. If what the government is saying is they're not saying that they're all sex trafficking, some were okay, then you have to ask, well, how is he supposed to know the difference? I mean, if we're at the freak off number 75 and 75 of them have been consensual, what momentous thing would have to happen in freak off number 76 to sort of say, man, now it's sex trafficking, 0 to 60. Now it's sex trafficking. And none of that happens. I mean, none of that happens. There's no time where, she says in a text message, I mean, she gets mad at him sometimes. He gets mad at her sometimes. He sometimes speaks vulgar to him. She speaks vulgar to him. There's obviously some typos in here. These are rushed transcripts. But there's nothing that would say to him, oh, I get it. She doesn't ever want to do these again. She doesn't ever want to do these again. Nothing. And so I submit to you that there's nothing that would ever indicate to him that, this was something that was against her will. Let's talk about the Daniel Phillip one. So from cross-examination, I think we established when Mr. Donaldson was cross-examining Mr. Phillip, And I think it might have been on recross that this might have happened on July 30th, 2012. And there's been some evidence of that in the record. And this is when Mr. Donaldson is recrossing the witness. Let's look very quickly at the text leading up to that date. This is Exhibit B, like boy 346. On the bottom, Sean Combs writes to Cassie, "Good. Are you horny?" She says, "Yes." He says, "How horny?" He says, "What you be thinking about when you're horny?" She says, "I think about you on top of me and inside of me, the way you look at me and talk to me like that. I love looking up at you and hearing you moan." Sorry, guys. And at the bottom of the page, he says, "One of my favorite times is when we FO'd, that's freak offed, and then we made love after. I also liked when we make love before, and then Jules is in the next room. Then he came in and I blindfolded you." And she says, "Yes, I like those times. I love when we make love. The last time was so good when we were at my place. I came so hard for so long." Oops, yikes, that's a lot. Sorry, guys. That's like way too much information. So let's skip ahead. All right, here's the point. First of all, if we're leading up to this particular 7:30, there's obviously nothing in that series of text messages to indicate that she doesn't want to do that. And I think even more than that, it shows the nature of their lifestyle. All right, let's talk about the Intercontinentals. So we're going to start with Exhibit 1088, which is from 3/4/16. And Cassie writes, "I'm not going to do that many of these. I know you're sick, but I have to tell you this, and maybe you can read this later and enjoy it. My mother is so happy I became a lawyer." Oh, okay. So he's making a joke. He's like, "My mother is so happy I became a lawyer." And then after that, there's like a text with a naughty word in it, like a bad. Oh my god. Oh Lord. Okay. So this is one of his jokes because he has to say this text message where he uses a different term for female anatomy that begins with a P. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Um, uh, while I take a pause after that laugh, let me welcome our new member. I saw that we got a new member, Thomas McCarthy. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Um, so anyway, let's get back to this and then we'll wrap things up. I'm so sorry, guys. So this is a quote. Um, this is a quote. This is a quote, guys. This is a quote. So Mark Agnafilo says, "My mother is so happy I became a lawyer." And because he didn't want to like have to read this, obviously, but he has to read it, right? He has to say all of this in court. And the text message from Cassie says, "My P word has been so hot since we've been making love this past week. For the past 2 days, I'll just think about it. And I'm not even going to read the rest of it. It's too much." That's what she says. He says, she goes on. She says, "So let's do it. Can you set it up though, so I can just run home and grab stuff?" And you guys have seen this. And Combs says, "I think if we start at 7 or 8, maybe 4 at the latest, take a Xanax or Ambien and go to sleep, we'll be okay." Because she has her big premiere coming up, but they're going through this together. They're sort of thinking through this together. You know, there was some suggestion made yesterday that somehow Combs imposed this on her and then she agreed only because otherwise, like, he would ruin the premiere. But I really encourage you to look at Exhibit 1088 because the lead up text messages to the Intercontinental Freak Off show that they're kind of workshopping this together very much as a couple. You know, if we do it quickly, if we don't stay out too late, they're trying to find a way to make it work. Well, Cassie had kind of testified that she just wanted to kind of do it to get it over with. Um, and then, so sorry, Thomas. I see you're saying, "What have I subscribed to?" I'm really sorry. We'll try not to get into the gutter too often around here. We don't really like to do that. So I apologize. So she had kind of said like she didn't really want to do it because she had this big premiere coming up, but it's like you gotta like his moods were so unpredictable. She didn't want to not do it and have it ruin her premiere. That was kind of like the thing. Because he might ruin her premiere if she didn't do the freak off. That sucks. If you're Cassie, that really sucks if you feel that way, that he's not going to get what he wants. So then he might ruin her movie premiere. Yeah. So here's where he gets to talk about the phone. First, I say to you, because it seems to all be about a phone, the entire situation's about a phone, and I'm going to show you a few snippets. I'm going to play the whole thing. I'm going to show you a few snippets as to why I'm saying that to you and why I think it's true. It's all about a phone. Now it's crystal clear whether it's Cassie's phone or Mr. Combs' phone. It's not crystal clear. More likely than not, it's Combs' phone, and I'll show you some snippets and we can kind of think of it together. So he shows the stuff. Look at her right hand. See, you can see the right hand in the mirror. You can also see the mirror. One thing that's clear, she's carrying 2 bags in her left hand, and it seems that she has something you can't tell what. You can't tell what, but it seems she has something in her right hand. And then he's talking about, if you watch this tape, and I'm not going to show it to you because like YouTube will ding you, but if you look at it, you'll see she's got, if you look at the whole thing, you'll see she's got the phone in her hand, and then he gets the phone. They talk. I mean, it's a much longer video than what you saw on CNN when it first came out, but still, it's horrible. It's horrible. So Judge Subramanian is going to charge the jury tomorrow morning. Then the jury will begin deliberations. This jury ain't deliberating past July 4th. They are going to be over it. That is my prediction. They're going to be like, 4th of July weekend, hell to the yeah, we ain't coming back here. So thinking like Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Wednesday, there's a verdict, maybe Tuesday. Hell, they could have a verdict tomorrow. I don't know. It's so hard. I read these transcripts, but I'm not in the courtroom. I just talk to people I trust about what they're seeing in the courtroom and then try to figure out what's going on. So there you go, guys. Karen Reed also signed some movie deal. We can talk about that another time. Sorry for the smut today. Sorry for the smut, guys. We got into the gutter a little bit of smut with the Sean Combs stuff, but I'll be hosting some live coverage on Law and Crime's YouTube channel tomorrow for Verdict Watch 4 to 5 if you Eastern time if you want to check in. Again, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm going to wrap this up. I got to go do like chores, mom stuff, all that good stuff. Thank you so much to the new members for joining. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe. If you've been watching on replay, thank you so much. I love that you've been watching on replay. I forgot to welcome the replay viewers. I always love it when I see everybody in the replay. Please let me know in the comments where you've been watching from. I just love it when I see people from different countries, different states, and let me know what you'd like to hear about too. And we'll try to integrate topics that everybody wants to hear about. There are so many of them out there that we could discuss. I know somebody wanted to hear about Crystal Rogers in Kentucky. That's a tough one. It's an interesting case, but it's tough because there are no cameras in the courtroom and we're not getting transcripts. I'm only seeing news stories about it where I have to rely on other people. So again, thanks so much, guys. I will see you back here another day, another time, and hopefully before the 4th of July holiday starts. So take care. See you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, and thank you to all the mods. I apologize. Thanks, mods. Thank you, everybody.